Hi, my name is Carrie. You might know me as Kay Warning or from my shop 8-Bit Stitch. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to separate threads. This is another piece of cross stitch that I feel like kind of falls to the wayside when teaching people how to cross stitch. I don't know if it's because people just assume that new stitchers know that they shouldn't be stitching with the entire thread. And when I mean entire thread, I mean all 6 pieces. So when you buy a skein of thread, I'm showing you with DMC thread. This should be similar if you're buying Anchor or another brand of thread. It's gonna come in a skein like this. I don't know if seasoned stitchers just assume that new stitchers know not to use the entire piece of the thread, but I feel like this is something that's not really discussed. When you buy this thread, it's going to come in 6 strands. So if you pull out the end of the thread and you take a look at it, it's going to have 6 little pieces. What that means is when you're starting your thread, you're gonna take a pull. I usually do like an arm's length, and you're gonna snip it off from the skein. Luckily I have some scissors like right next to me. That would have been terrible. I would have had to get up and go across the room. So you're gonna snip it from the skein. You are then left with a length of 6 strands. You don't want to stitch with this. It's going to be very thick unless you're doing like 11 count Aida or something. So it's up to you how many strands you're wanting to use on your Aida. Typically I use 2 strands. And if you remember back to my pattern reading video, your pattern should have a recommendation of how many strands you should be using. So for this, I will grab one of these little strands here. I will hold the rest firmly in my other finger, and I will just pull that one strand, and you'll kind of see the rest of the skein is gonna start bunching up, but it's still gonna come out pretty smoothly. Now I have made this piece super long because I use the knotless loop start. If you do not use that start, you can of course make your pull a little bit shorter and pull out 2 strands. I would do 1 strand at a time. If you try to pull 2 strands out at once, it's probably gonna get pretty tangled and knotted. Then you can just line those strands up with each other, knot the end, and you're ready to start. I'll get into specific starting and stopping methods in another video. Another tip I have for you is while I made this strand pretty long, don't make it too long. If your strand is too long, you have a higher chance of it knotting while you're stitching. For beginning stitchers, if you want to get a feel for it and have a shorter strand, maybe go from hand to elbow or hand to armpit for your length until you get the feel for exactly how long your thread should be, how long your tail should be. That way you can avoid knotting. I know this was kind of a short video, but I think it's an important thing to mention because again, I don't really hear a lot of people explaining how to separate the threads, and even that you should separate the threads when people are beginning to learn to cross stitch. I hope this video was helpful for you. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, happy stitching.